fan of the artist Drake, you might have woken up to quite a surprise overnight, or maybe you were on his live stream and you saw that not only did he drop his new album Iceman, which is finally his response to what Kendrick Lamar had put out a couple years earlier with Not Like Us and a few other diss tracks. Euphoria is also one of them. But Drake also put out two other surprise albums. So we have Khan Tori Davison, journalist here, entertainment journalist. Khan, how you doing, man?
I'm excellent. And yourself, how you doing for a Friday?
Hey, man, it's good. It's good to see you. Good to talk to you. So this was a surprise, and I haven't been able to make it through all three of these albums yet. I've barely been able to make it through one, but I will be listening to all three over the course of the weekend. We knew Iceman was coming out because he had publicized it. It was in like a maze in Toronto. There was a streamer who, found the little, I guess the little advertising link or whatever. But he puts out Maid of Honor and Habibti with Iceman. So I got to get your thoughts. Was this a surprise for you? And if so, have you been able to listen to any one or all three of the albums yet?
I made it through two, and yes, it was a surprise. Everything about it was a surprise, including the image on the cover is sort of a replica, a nod to that Michael Jackson glove that's sitting in the Motown Museum on West Grand Boulevard. And just most recently, Drake became he beat Michael Jackson's record for having the most albums on the Billboard 200 over a 10-year time span. So, I mean, anytime you beat Michael Jackson at a record, your week is getting off to a good start. But
right?
Yeah, I made it through two of the albums, and it's 43 songs total. It's a lot. I would say so far the meat is in that Iceman album, the Maid of Honor. He takes more chances, a bit more experimental, some dance rhythms, some EDM, techno, some Afro beats, but so far so good, I suppose.
Look, we've been waiting to hear from Drake for about 2 years now because it seemed like Kendrick Lamar ethered him, and we thought his career was over with. I mean, Not Like Us, not only did it win a Grammy, but he went on to perform this at the Super Bowl, and it became one of the anthems for 24 into 25. We wanted Drake to get off the mat. We weren't expecting with three albums he would do that. But is it overkill, or is this what you would have expected given the response from Kendrick Lamar?
It's kind of what I would expect it. I think there was a pressure on Drake to come back big, come back strong. Along with so far those three albums, there are 12 or 13 videos he's been putting out. It feels like all morning, all day. You know what I mean? And so, but I predicted even before this that however you feel about Drake, his music, and where his status in hip hop culture, this album wasn't going to change anything. This album was not going to take away any of his cultural collateral of what he's built, or nor would it add to it. You know what I mean? I mean, he sold 170 million albums, and I knew this album wasn't going to outpace any of his biggest selling albums. And I still, even listening to it so far, I still don't think it will. But Drake has us talking, and when we talk a lot about what hip hop culture needs, listen, people are going through this thing line by line, bar by bar. I'm just disappointed that the song he gave a kind of a nod to Cade Cunningham didn't make it. It was leaked last year called Shopping Spree, and it didn't make the album. So I was like, oh man, Pistons need some good juju. So it would have been cool to have that song on there.
Look, it would have been great because the Pistons could have used that to make this run in the playoffs. It definitely would have helped put them over the top. Not that
all good vibes needed.
We need any help we can get at this point here, especially tonight, man. Which, by the way, I got to ask you, who you got tonight?
Oh man, I'm going with Detroit, man. They will figure it out and they will get it done, and we will be Game 7 back here at LCA.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I really hope so. I feel a bit more confident with this series than I did with Orlando, but like I said, you got to take it one game at a time here. Look, we grew up at a time when albums were heavily looked forward to. Like, you knew Tuesdays was the day that new music was going to drop. And I think Beyonce really changed the game with these surprise midnight drops. And it takes a certain amount of art. It takes a certain artist to be able to pull this off. And Drake is that kind of caliber of artist. But how do you think albums are received now than maybe they were 10, 20 years ago?
It's not the same. Now we receive an album, and I think people pick out the 3 to 6 songs they like the most, and they add them to their own personal playlist and keep it moving. You know, the days of getting a CD, album, a physical product, and going through the liner notes of who produced it, who helped write it, you know, trying to figure out what studio was recording, all those cool tidbits that add to it. It seems like only the bigger artists get that kind of treatment. And you see it here with Drake in this album, because again, people are going through looking for the things he's addressing. As you mentioned, he was in one of the most biggest hip hop feuds probably of all time. You know what I mean? And so people are going through and listening to the song "Make Them Pay," in which he calls out J. Cole, he calls out Rick Ross, he calls out DJ Khaled. You know, they're listening and see what he says. And again, it's a polarizing hip hop fan base. Some people feel as though he's beating it in the ground. Stop talking about it. Leave it alone. Other people they're going to the album to listen to the music, but also want to hear what he has to say about these last 2 years.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that he basically is coming after everybody. And you know, there was a time when you couldn't find a DJ Khaled song without Drake on it. He either had Drake on it, he had Future, he had Quavo, he had Justin Bieber on it. But at the top, it was always Drake was at the top of that list. And you know, first person shooter with J. Cole was one of those ones that really kind of started this feud here with Kendrick Lamar. But what do you think the response will be in the hip hop community from other artists after seeing Drake hit these 3 albums?
Well, I'm intrigued too, because he has reunited with Future on this album on the song called "Ran to Atlanta." So that's pretty cool. And he, of course, 21 Savage is featured on here. So it'll be interesting to see if there are other artists that maybe was shining away from him or took a step back to say, okay, you know, we can maybe rekindle our musical kinship, I guess. And you know, but we'll see. And we'll see how many other artists speak on it, because there was he had a lot of silent peers during that beef. A lot of people didn't want to comment. A lot of people didn't want no parts of it. Kendrick was having a moment, and they didn't want to be on that list of who gonna got verbally next by Kendrick. So right. A lot of peers stayed away.
Well, yeah, I mean, for good reason. You don't want to be in the crosshairs of Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar, he definitely cooked in 2024. And then he carried that momentum all the way to 2025. And I didn't know if we were going to hear back from Drake, and if we were, because honestly, dude's been doing it since, you know, late 2000s. And it's hard to believe that he has been around since, you know, 2008, 2009, and even before then. But his legacy is now carried almost 20 years now. And that can be very rare when you're doing hip hop to stay relevant for that long. Do you think you've heard any songs of the summer from any of the at least the first 2 albums you listened to?
Not yet. Not a song that I feel as though, like, Drake really has had moments. You know, when you think about God's Plan, you think about Kiki, and you think about the songs that became viral moments, viral dances. You know, when you think about what was that, Turn Down for What, the one that became an anthem for women. He has had great moments that people have just latched to. Like, he just had a knack for doing those. I haven't heard any yet that I would think that would go there, but you never know. I'm 49, and sometimes the Gen Z, they find something and they make it into a thing that you never thought would be a thing. You know what I mean? So you never know. Right. The verdict is still out.
Look, I would probably say we'll probably go into TikTok one day and we'll see just a snippet of one of his songs, maybe from these 2 or 3 albums, and that'll probably end up carrying him and carrying more people to listen. Look, you've been covering you know, music journalism for quite some time, but when it comes to TikTok, and this is still foreign to me, but have you seen a way where it's just TikTok has been the way that people listen to new music now?
Oh, definitely. And it's indirect marketing. A song that organically goes viral. We had a song here from T Grizzly and Skilla Baby called "Gorgeous," and it was not. They did a collab album. It was not meant to be a single, but hey, TikTok, Gen Z got a hold to it and say, hey, we like this. And all of a sudden, you had girls everywhere from between 14 and 24 posting selfies and videos with, the gorgeous song in the background. So there's just certain things that very organically lend themselves to the people who make TikToks and people that make content. And so, that's the dynamic of social media, in which you have something there that can just elevate a song created by Ramona, can make a hit song that nobody had intentions on it maybe being a hit song. So, it's crazy. It's definitely different from 10 to 15 years ago.
I got to ask you this now that Drake is back in the conversation. Do you ever think we will see Drake at the Super Bowl halftime show?
I'm gonna say if Jay-Z is no longer in charge of entertainment, it might have a chance. But from I'm dissecting, and apparently there's a couple very subtle shots maybe taken at the great Jay-Z Hove himself. So if that's the plan, Drake's not doing himself any favors.
Hopefully, money can bring them together, and we'll wait and we'll see. And Khan will have you back on the show when that happens. But hey, man, it's good to see you.
Hey,
good to talk to you.
Looking forward to it.
And we appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, anytime. Hey, I'm Brandon Hudson. That is my hour. Romeo Shimon is next. We'll see you and have a great weekend.
Still didn't do it. What the fuck? It is a, well, alright, so can you add